Strono Tuggs, better known as Cookie to most people, was born on Artioid Minor, a cold, swampy planet in wild space. As a child, Cookie spent time bonding with his mother and learning to cook. His love for cooking became an obsession when he discovered old holovids of one of the greatest chefs in the galaxy, Gourmanda. Despite the far-too-on-the-nose name, Gourmanda was a major inspiration that sent Cookie on adventures across the Outer Rim looking for new techniques, recipes, and ingredients. Unfortunately, Cookie's species was considered unpleasant by most other species in the galaxy. Artiodacs are bulky and thick with massive heads and broad faces. Cookie was even more unfortunate as he was disfigured on top of that. His skin was pinkish gray and one of his eyes bulged, making his face asymmetrical. His feet were misshapen, which made one leg longer than the other, turning his walk into a lurching shamble. Because of his off-putting appearance, most beings would not take the time to learn about his culinary passions. He poured everything he had into his food, hoping that one day he could change others' minds on his worth. His dream would eventually become a reality. He got through to someone, and they were the right person at the right time. The pirate queen Maz Kanata looked past Cookie's physical appearance, tried his food, and flipped for it. She offered him the role of head chef in her castle stronghold on Takodana. He graciously accepted the position and began serving the constant rotation of smugglers, explorers, and other travelers through the fringes of the galaxy. Cookie spent centuries in the castle, feeding the patrons and increasing his skills. As word spread and the food in the castle became a draw, Cookie was given more agency. He enhanced the castle's kitchen in order to better serve the clients and his staff. He had found a true friend in Maz. Along with increasing the capacity of the kitchen, Cookie was allowed to hire his own staff. A Volpi called Rob's Eli was brought in as a sous chef. It looked like Cookie had finally found the life that he always wanted. But that was all about to be threatened. Eli was going rogue, cooking his own recipes and not following Cookie's direction. This eventually became a very loud and very public argument. That very night of the argument, Eli was killed. More than just murdered, he was prepped like a hunk of meat and hung in the walk-in freezer that only Cookie, the head chef, was supposed to be able to access. I'm not going to bury the lead here. Cookie was framed. He was genuinely upset that Eli had been killed, even though they had constantly arguing. He also thought that because of all the prejudices that he already faced throughout his life, that he would be labeled guilty without the benefit of a trial or a chance to prove himself innocent. He feeds Eli's frozen body to a creature to buy himself time to catch the real killer. I'm not sure that was the best move, but it doesn't really come back to haunt him, so we're just gonna move past it. Cookie finds out that Eli's personal recipe book was stolen that same night. He assumes a member of his kitchen staff. Who else would want a book of recipes? So to try to have the killer expose themselves, he sets off a cooking contest. The winner is supposedly going to become the new sous chef, claiming that Eli simply mysteriously left rather than was killed. Cookie's plan was to see if one of Eli's recipes would show up in the contest. The contest that follows is very detailed and would make anything Gordon Ramsay could ever come up with seem tame and low stress. When the contestants turned their food in, one of them was stupid enough to use one of Eli's recipes. Not only that, but it was the recipe that Eli was working on the day of his death. And to go a step further, the chef in question had the stolen book in his back pocket. If you're getting value or entertainment out of any of my transmissions, it would mean a lot if you would join the Remnant and subscribe. Luckily, the story keeps things interesting enough, and solving the murder is not as cut and dry as this. As Cookie is questioning the chef, two droids who had worked in his kitchen for years attacked with knives. Their primary directive was to protect the quality and safety of the food for the benefit of all the patrons. They saw experimental recipes as a danger and decided killing the chefs making it was the only solution. It's an attempt at humor, putting a twist on the classic robot or AI uprising that we see far too often in pop culture, where they need to protect the Earth and then the robot sees humanity as the Earth's biggest threat, so they go to wipe it out. It's been done again and again and again. This is just on a smaller, goofier scale. The droids kill the winner of the contest because he used one of Eli's recipes, but then they turn their attentions on Cookie. Cookie not only didn't make the recipes, but he got in a big argument over Eli making them. He did not want them to be made, so the droids going after him doesn't really track with the droid logic programming. Cookie uses his deep knowledge of the kitchen and the intense defense system found throughout the castle to trick the droids and have them blasted apart. He was alive and free of any accusations of the murder. No one seemed to care that he fed the body to a monster. But he was left saddened. Eli was a friend despite their differences. To honor the sous chef, Cookie then started to use Eli's recipes and distributed them to cooking schools across the galaxy. This part also struck me as a little bit odd because they got in such a big argument and then Eli was murdered for these very same recipes that Cookie then turns around and starts using. Okay. Cookie stayed at his post, running the kitchen, improving his craft, and serving the patrons of the castle. He was there in ABY 34 when Han Solo turned up at the castle with a few new members of his crew, an orphan scavenger, an ex-stormtrooper, and a unique BB unit droid. Being a personal friend to Kanata, Cookie went above and beyond delivering great meals. Every patron of the castle ran outside when the sky lit up crimson red. Those on the ground wouldn't learn what they were actually seeing until a little while later. Starkiller Base had just destroyed the Hosnian system and almost the entirety of those running the New Republic. Before anyone could make sense of what they were seeing, the First Order attacked the ancient castle. Cookie had spent his life trying to stay out of the larger workings of the galaxy, happy enough to run his kitchen and work on his craft. It's true, he started yearning for a change from the decades of service in the castle, but seeing his home of so many years destroyed weighed heavy on him. He found the first transport off Takodana to start all over again. He would travel to the far reaches of the known galaxy and settled on Batuu, a desert planet that served as a hub for travel this far from the core worlds. He invested all the savings he had stowed away over the years and bought a Sinar Chal Utilipede transport. It's a blocky shuttle that he would reform into a mobile kitchen, an intergalactic food truck. He called his food shuttle Tuggs Grub and came up with the tagline, a traveling diner for diners traveling. Though he was fully mobile now, his eatery became quite popular in Batuu's Black Spire Outpost. He had a regular spot at Docking Bay 7, now referred to as Docking Bay 7 Food and Cargo. His recipes brought in ingredients and flavors from all over the galaxy. Each dish had a unique story behind it. Cookie was happy. His simple and fulfilling life didn't last long as the First Order showed up once again. They weren't there looking for him specifically, but there was a small band of resistance fighters establishing a base near Black Spire Outpost. They were trying to recruit more talent to their cause. The troopers actually became customers of Cookie's. He hated the First Order for what they stood for and what they did to his last home, but he kept his head down and did his job. I like the idea of getting into a Star Wars mystery. There have been a few cropping up in more recent years, though none have really hit home for me. I hope the franchise as a whole keeps trying new things. They're not all gonna hit, but branching out and making the universe bigger and bigger with more varied stories is always a positive. I'm also really enjoying just how fleshed out the backstory of Galaxy's Edge is. Yes, you could argue that the stories are just elaborate advertisements, but I've loved my time in the park, so getting to dive deeper and to bring more context to them has been a fun way to ignite those memories in between trips. I actually started working my own way through the Black Spire Cookbook with my wife. Those videos will be added to the members area regularly. You can check those out there, or check out this transmission next to dive into more Star Wars lore.